Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and stories that shape our world. I'm your host, Walter, and I'm glad you're joining us today. As we get started, let's take a look at a story that's been making headlines in the world of trade and economics. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to weigh in on a crucial case involving President Trump's use of tariffs as a tool for negotiating trade agreements. The case centers around the president's decision to impose tariffs on goods from several countries, including Canada, China, and Mexico, under the auspices of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. Now, this law gives the president broad authority to respond to economic emergencies, but the question at hand is whether it also grants him the power to unilaterally impose tariffs. The White House argues that IEEPA does indeed provide this authority, while opponents claim that it's an overreach of executive power and that only Congress has the constitutional right to impose taxes, including tariffs. The case has significant implications for the future of U.S. trade policy and the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches. If the Supreme Court rules in favor of the president, it could give him a green light to continue using tariffs as a negotiating tool, potentially leading to more trade disputes and economic uncertainty. On the other hand, if the court decides that the president has overstepped his authority, it could limit his ability to impose tariffs and force him to work more closely with Congress on trade policy. It's worth noting that this case is not just about the president's use of tariffs, but also about the broader issues of executive power and the separation of powers in the U.S. government. As we follow this story, we'll be keeping a close eye on the arguments presented by both sides and the potential implications for the country. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter, and we're diving into the middle segment of today's show. We've got a significant development in the Middle East that's been making headlines, and we'll break it down for you with our signature balance and fairness. Reports are emerging of an Israeli strike in Doha, Qatar, targeting Hamas leaders. The Qatari Ministry of Foreign Affairs has condemned the attack, calling it a cowardly act that violates Qatar's sovereignty. This incident has sparked widespread condemnation from regional and international leaders, including the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who described the air raids as a flagrant violation of Qatar's territorial integrity. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Jordan, Iran, Iraq, and Yemen's Houthi group have all issued statements denouncing the Israeli attack. The Palestinian response has been strong, with Vice President Hussein al-Sheikh condemning the strike as a heinous act. Even the Maldives has weighed in, describing the attack as cowardly and a serious violation of international law. It's essential to note that the situation is complex, with multiple parties involved and various interests at play. As we strive to provide an unbiased account, it's crucial to acknowledge the diverse perspectives and reactions from around the world. The United States has not yet commented on the incident, but will continue to monitor developments and bring you updates as more information becomes available. As we navigate this sensitive topic, we encourage our listeners to consider the various viewpoints and to seek out credible sources for information. We'll keep a close eye on this story and provide further analysis in future episodes. For now, let's take a moment to reflect on the significance of this event and its potential implications for regional stability. The situation remains fluid, and we'll be keeping a close watch on any new developments. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block, folks. We've got a lot to unpack in our final segment today, so let's dive right in. We're looking at some significant developments in the Middle East, particularly in Syria. As you may know, there have been some major shifts in the region recently, and we're going to break it down for you. First off, Syrian leader Ahmed al-Sharaa is set to visit Moscow next month, according to Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak. This trip is seen as a significant step toward strengthening bilateral cooperation between Russia and Syria, especially after the overthrow of longtime ally Bashar al-Assad. Novak emphasized that this visit would open a new page in their relations, focusing on areas such as economy, security, defense, and politics. Now, it's worth noting that Russia has been trying to navigate its relationships with various factions in the region, including Israel, which has carried out numerous strikes on Syria since Assad's ouster. Novak suggested that Russia could act as a mediator between Israel and Syria, leveraging its unique position of maintaining contacts with both Israeli leaders and various ethnic groups in Syria. We're also seeing discussions around humanitarian aid to Syria and reconstruction efforts in the energy sector, involving partners like Qatar. However, there are still many unanswered questions about the fate of Russia's naval base in Tartus and its airbase at Haimaim, which have been a point of uncertainty since Assad's departure. To give you a better understanding of the situation, we've got some context from our previous reports. In January, a Russian delegation made the first trip to Syria after Assad's toppling, marking a significant move by Moscow to establish relations with the new government. As always, we strive to provide you with balanced and unbiased information. It's clear that the situation in Syria is complex and multifaceted, with many players involved. We'll continue to monitor developments and bring you updates as more information becomes available. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.